word obsession encompasses the mindset of everyone at Mossy Oak. We obsess over hiding from, chasing, and conserving the critters we pursue. In this episode, we join Mossy Oak's own Austin Delano as we dive into his obsession of gamekeeping and whitetails. This is The Obsessed.
You know, like a lot of other kids, I started out chasing small game, squirrels, trapping raccoons, rabbit hunting, all the stuff that, little country kids do. And as you go through doing that and you get a little older, obviously you graduate to wanting a shotgun, wanting a rifle to be able to go deer hunting with your dad. And after you kill a couple, it's just like it just builds from there. And you're looking for that next adventure. And for me, that just graduated pretty quickly into, hey, where's the big bucks? What do we do to kill big deer? And I don't think that's ever stopped. And for the last 20 years, it's really not been about how do we kill one. For me, it's how do I help other people grow them. Over the years, I've been really blessed to be able to travel a wide portion of this country and be in a lot of hunting camps and go and visit a lot of farms and different types of habitat. And I just genuinely do not think there's another wild game animal that is as highly obsessed over as the whitetail deer. For me, that's one thing that's just so enthralling about the whitetail, and the range that it has is just not only how adaptable it is to all the situations that man has changed, and the whitetail just finds a way to keep on not just surviving but thriving around everything we do, from urban sprawl to farming, and the whitetail just takes a lick and says, hey, here's how we're gonna do it. They just adapt, and they're just tough critters. I truly became obsessed with whitetails, and it was probably in my early 20s. I got into planting food plots because I loved farming, number one, and it just kind of went hand in hand. And I thought, hey, I can do this. And I remember having a little bitty lease in some just really poor dirt, and we were just desperately trying to grow food plots and had a water wagon out there during September just trying to get something to grow. And we actually were pretty successful at growing a food plot and killing some deer over it, and seeing how that one little food plot changed how these, cotton country deer were traveling. And we were like, hey, this is pretty cool. It triggered something in me that this is fun. This is something I can get into. And so from there, I think that's where my obsession with food plot started, and whitetails maybe at the same time. And I've never took the foot off the gas since. It's every year I find myself doing more and more things that I'm like, this animal drives us crazy. So this year I was lucky enough to draw a Kansas muzzleloader tag for the early season. And we came out here in mid-September, I guess it was, and we had a great time. It was a fun hunt, but it does not feel like Midwestern whitetail hunting in September out here. When you're sitting in a stand and it's 85 degrees, the wind's 180 degrees out of the wrong direction, it feels like. And of course, these old deer you're hunting, they're not moving until the last 10 minutes of light. And being able to get to come back out here in early December and see how much the habitat has changed, as far as just the look. I mean, there's obviously not any type of a leaf on a tree out here. And, the fields are empty. The CRP fields are just all golden, and they were green 2 months ago. It's just really neat to see what a change in the habitat looks like just in 2.5 months' time. And now this feels like Midwestern whitetail hunting. Thankful for the opportunity to see it in early season, even though we kind of struck out, but come back 2.5 months later and be like, well, yeah, this feels right. You know, this first afternoon hunt that we had out here, it was drizzling rain, temperatures in the low 30s. There's just that little bit of a fog in the air from the temperature change. Everything felt right. The feeling of the evening was perfect, you know, and it started rocking on there, getting towards 3:30 or 4, and we're like, hey, you know, it's getting kind of close to deer 30. And no more than I was sitting there thinking, we ought to start seeing some deer. Start seeing some old bad-eared does over there in the timber. And the timing was just right. They came out about exactly when you think deer ought to start moving, right there at that magical 30 minutes before dark time. And sure enough, we look to the left, we spot antlers. And when he pops out and you see that, oh yeah, that's a big mature buck right there, that kind of, you know, it flips the switch into, all right, we got to try to figure out how we're going to kill this deer now. And so it was, the evening really just lined up perfect for a really good hunt. You know, it was a pretty good stretch for a muzzleloader. He was on out there about 180 yards, and I mean, it's a pretty good poke for a muzzleloader, even as good as they are. So, you know, with all the smoke you get from a muzzleloader shot, you see just white tails running everywhere, and deer kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. And we felt really good about the hit, but we were like, you know, it's probably just going to be best. Let's just let him lay. If he's dead now, he'll be dead when we get there in the morning. And I'm glad we did that, but hearing that rain beat down all night, you're sitting there going, man, I wish we could go look, but you know it's probably best not to. To get back in there that next morning and find that deer, you know, just within 30 or 40 yards of where we shot him, and walk up and see those antlers laying there in that grass, there's something extremely satisfying and an emotional connection when you walk up on a big mature whitetail buck and just feel that instant, you know, gratitude, like, yes, thank you Lord, thank you for the shot. You see his scars on his back from fighting, and get down there and put your hands on him, and you just you feel the character of what that deer's kind of been through. That's the connection you get with these whitetails, and I don't think the obsession of chasing them is ever gonna burn out in me. The positive changes that you can see in a deer herd, or just maybe in a single deer that you've been trying to grow and you've been watching him, and that's the gratitude that you get back out of, you know, doing all these gamekeeping activities and trying to better this habitat. That's part of what drives your obsession with these whitetails, is seeing how they respond to all the effort and time you put into trying to do something better for them, and see the fruits of your labor. That's kind of what just keeps you driving to keep on doing this. I'm Austin Delano, and I am obsessed.